They weren't built for farms. They were built for continents, engines the size of rooms, tires taller than men, frames so heavy the ground itself had to change beneath them. These weren't just tractors. They were monuments of power, forged by engineers who refused to accept limits. From the silent intelligence of Claas to the unstoppable roar of Big Bud, every one of them pushed the boundary between invention and insanity. Some were ahead of their time. Some were too large for it. But all of them asked the same question: how big is too big? Today, we go inside the machines that redefined what power means on Earth. This is Tractor World. And these are the 9 biggest tractors ever built. Don't forget to press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Ranked 9th, Claas Xerion 5000 Track 5C 2014. It didn't roar the loudest, and it wasn't the biggest, but the Claas Xerion 5000 Track 5C was the kind of machine that made engineers pause. Because for the first time, a tractor could do something humans always took for granted: turn its own head. Launched in 2014, the Xerion 5000 looked sleek, almost polite, until you saw what it could do. With the press of a button, the entire cab lifted, rotated 180 degrees, and locked into a new driving direction. The operator could now face the implement directly, operating in reverse with complete visibility and control. It wasn't just clever. It was a complete rethink of how a tractor interacts with its environment. For farmers handling heavy silage work, forestry, or snow equipment, it was like piloting 2 machines in one body. Underneath that futuristic design sat a 12.8-liter Mercedes-Benz engine, pushing 530 horsepower, with torque so steady it could pull massive loads without breaking traction. The Xerion's 4-wheel steering system allowed all wheels to turn in sync or in opposite directions. Crab steering, letting the tractor move sideways across a field to reduce soil compaction. Every movement was deliberate, almost graceful, a mechanical ballet performed in mud and steel. But its brilliance wasn't loud enough for everyone to notice. To some, it was over-engineered. Too complex, critics said, too expensive. Yet a decade later, every major manufacturer began chasing modular control, panoramic visibility, and ergonomic command centers. Claas had seen where the world was heading and got there first. In an era obsessed with size, the Xerion proved that power isn't always about how big you build it, but how precisely you can control it. Its rotating cab wasn't a gimmick, it was a vision, that the farmer and the machine should move as one, not in opposition. So what do you think? Was the Claas Xerion just an engineer's indulgence, or the smartest form of power farming that has ever been seen? Ranked 8th, case IH Steiger 620 Quad Track 2013. When the case IH Steiger 620 Quad Track rolled onto the scene in 2013, the ground didn't just shake, it surrendered. This wasn't a tractor that moved across the soil, it gripped it. At 620 horsepower, powered by a 12.9-liter turbocharged engine, the 620 wasn't designed to impress with looks. It was built to win the endless war against traction loss. Instead of wheels, it ran on 4 independent rubber tracks, each mounted on its own oscillating suspension. While most tractors struggled against mud and slope, the quad track crawled forward, distributing weight so perfectly that even soft ground held firm. The result? Unmatched pulling power, no slippage, and minimal compaction. A mechanical handshake between machine and earth. But what made the Steiger 620 revolutionary wasn't just brute strength, it was control. The independent tracks meant it could turn gracefully, even under full load, without tearing up the soil, something no traditional crawler had achieved before. Its advanced hydraulic system adjusted traction in real time, while the operator, seated high in a suspended cab, commanded the machine through fingertip precision. Inside, comfort met dominance, a digital control hub wrapped in steel and torque. When it debuted, many dismissed it as excessive, a tractor too big for most farms, too heavy for the average field. Yet in time, the world caught up. As fields grew larger and implements wider, the quad-track's design became the template for high-horsepower agriculture. Today, its DNA can be seen in every modern track drive system across continents, from North Dakota to New South Wales. The Steiger 620 didn't just pull loads, it pulled farming into a new era where traction wasn't a limitation but a science. It wasn't designed to dominate headlines, it was designed to dominate horizons. So what do you think? Was this the moment power finally met precision, or just another case of human ambition pressing too hard against the earth? Ranked 7th. John Deere 9.670RX, 2016. By 2016, most tractors had already reached their limits. At least that's what people thought. Then John Deere unveiled the 9.620RX, a green and yellow monster that didn't just raise the bar, it crushed it. The 9.620RX wasn't built for ordinary farms. It was built for the frontiers, the massive fields of North America, where land seems to stretch forever and power is the only language the soil understands. With a 620 horsepower Cummins QSX-15 engine, it delivered torque so immense that even pulling 80,000 pounds felt effortless. But brute force wasn't what made it legendary. What truly set it apart was intelligence. The RX introduced a new era of smart traction, 4 independent tracks, each monitored by sensors, automatically adjusted pressure to maintain grip without tearing up the soil. Its command center display gave operators real-time analytics on slip, drag, and efficiency. Inside the cab, it felt less like driving a tractor and more like piloting a machine that knew exactly what it was doing. It blended raw power with quiet awareness, a balance that farming had never experienced before. John Deere called it the most powerful, most advanced tractor we've ever built. And they weren't exaggerating. For the first time, horsepower met precision. For the first time, the farmer didn't have to fight the machine. The machine learned how to cooperate, but power always invites doubt. Many wondered, how big is too big? Was this the future of farming or a glimpse of overreach when machines grow faster than the land can bear? For some, it was a dream realized. For others, a warning written in steel. Today, the 9.620RX stands as a symbol of balance, where human judgment and machine intelligence finally meet halfway. It isn't just John Deere's biggest tractor. It's the moment when power learned to think. So what do you think? Is this evolution or escalation? Ranked 6th, Versatile 1150, 1977. In the late 1970s, when most tractors still spoke in the language of diesel and grit, Versatile decided to talk louder. The result was the Versatile 1150, a machine that didn't just work the land, it challenged it. Built in Canada, the 1150 was a symbol of mechanical defiance. A V12 Detroit diesel engine, 19 liters of displacement, and nearly 470 horsepower. Numbers that sounded like overkill for its time. Its engine came from highway haulers and mining rigs, and its frame looked like it had been borrowed from a locomotive. When it started, the ground didn't just rumble, it shivered. But the 1150 wasn't designed for the faint-hearted. It demanded open fields and endless acres, the kind of space only the prairies could offer. Its fuel tank could drain faster than a car could fill up, and its 30,000-pound frame made transport a logistical nightmare. Farmers respected it, but few could tame it. To some, it was the definition of excess. To others, it was the raw truth of progress. A glimpse of what power could be when engineering stopped holding back. Versatile's engineers didn't build it to sell a dream. They built it to prove a point, that horsepower wasn't a number, it was an attitude. And though production was short-lived, the machine's legacy wasn't. Its brute force philosophy would later inspire entire generations of big-frame tractors, from Steiger to Big Bud itself. Today, the few surviving 1150s stand like fossils of a louder age, reminders of a time when engineers didn't ask how efficient can it be, but how strong can we make it? So what do you think? Was the Versatile 1150 proof of human ingenuity? Or proof that sometimes we build monsters to see if we can? Ranked 5th, AGCO Challenger MT875E, 2015. By 2015, the race for raw horsepower had already reached its limits. The world didn't need louder engines. It needed smarter ones. That's when AGCO introduced the Challenger MT875E, a 600 horsepower track-driven giant that proved brute force could coexist with precision and efficiency. From a distance, it looked like any other modern powerhouse, long, yellow, unshakable. But beneath that armor, everything about the MT-875E was refined. Its 15.2-liter, 12-cylinder AGCO power engine delivered immense torque with surgical control, tuned not to waste a drop of fuel. Each of its massive tracks was designed to spread the machine's 30-ton weight evenly, almost gliding over the soil rather than crushing it. Farmers called it the quiet beast, because for a machine this large, it didn't scream, it hummed. What set it apart wasn't just power, it was its philosophy. While most tractors still chased horsepower, the Challenger shifted focus toward efficiency, traction management, and fuel optimization. Its advanced cooling system, electronic load monitoring, and continuously variable transmission, CVT, made it one of the first high-horsepower tractors to consider the planet on which it worked. It wasn't about dominating the land, it was about respecting it while mastering it. Critics at first doubted the idea of a clean, 600 horsepower machine, but within a few seasons, the Challenger MT-875E proved that sustainability didn't mean weakness. It meant evolution. It became the benchmark for track drive technology, balancing massive torque with minimal soil impact. Standing still, it looked prehistoric, but in motion, it was poetry and physics. It marked the moment when farmers stopped shouting with engines and started whispering with precision. So what do you think? Is the future of power about going bigger or about learning how to use it better? Ranked fourth, New Holland T9.670, 2013. When New Holland released the T9.670 in 2013, it didn't just join the competition, it defined it. This was the moment when farming crossed the threshold from agriculture to industry. With 670 horsepower pumping from a FPT Cursor 13 engine, the T9.670 wasn't designed for fields measured in acres. It was built for square miles. Its articulated frame stretched more than 8 meters long, and when fully harnessed, it could pull 12 bottom plows or 80-foot seeders without breaking rhythm. Standing beside it, you didn't feel like you were looking at a tractor. You felt like you were looking at a factory on wheels. Its strength wasn't chaos, it was order. Every turn of its articulated chassis was smooth, calculated, and balanced. The four-wheel drive powertrain distributed torque evenly across all wheels, while its hydraulic steering system responded like muscle memory, heavy but precise. Inside the cab, the operator sat cocooned in climate-controlled silence, surrounded by digital readouts and fingertip controls. Farming had never felt this controlled, this exact. The T9.670 didn't just move soil, it commanded it. It represented a philosophy that power, when harnessed properly, could turn chaos into structure, that strength could be disciplined. New Holland's engineers built it for endurance. Multi-shift farms, 24-hour operation, relentless pressure, and it delivered. Yet even as it conquered vast plains, some questioned whether the machine had crossed an invisible line. When does progress stop serving people and start serving itself? The T9.670 blurred that line beautifully, terrifyingly. A decade later, it remains one of the purest expressions of industrial agriculture. Strength without apology, precision without hesitation. So what do you think? Is this the height of engineering discipline? Or the moment we realize the field no longer belonged to the farmer, but to the machine? Ranked third. Big Roy 8W30, 1977. In 1977, when the world was still fascinated by raw horsepower, Versatile built something that redefined what big really meant. They called it Big Roy, a name that sounded more like a legend than a machine. But behind the humor was something remarkable. A tractor so enormous, so advanced for its time, it almost felt alive. The Big Roy 8W30 was an 8-wheel drive monster powered by a V12 Cummins engine, delivering around 600 horsepower, numbers that seemed impossible for an agricultural machine in the 1970s. Its cab sat high above the fields, like the cockpit of a small ship. From that vantage point, a farmer could see for miles, except what was behind him. And that's where Big Roy broke all conventions. It had a rear-mounted camera system, the first of its kind ever installed on a production tractor. In an age before GPS, before monitors, before digital anything, Big Roy had an electronic eye. A camera sent live footage to a small screen inside the cab, allowing the operator to watch his implement in real time. Something unheard of in 1977. It was massive, noisy, and futuristic all at once. Farmers who saw it during demonstrations didn't know whether to laugh or applaud. But Big Roy's size was both its glory and its curse. At over 30 feet long and weighing more than 25 tons, it was too large for most farms, too heavy for transport, and too complicated for the infrastructure of its era. Only one was ever built, serial number 1080, a single prototype that still sits today in the Manitoba Agricultural Museum, perfectly preserved, like a mechanical myth frozen in time. And yet its ideas lived on. Modern articulated tractors, rear cameras, and 360-degree monitoring systems all carry echoes of Big Roy's DNA. It was proof that innovation sometimes looks absurd, until the world catches up. So what do you think? Was Big Roy a moment of genius ahead of its time, or just a beautiful mistake built too big for its century? Rank second, Big Bud 16 V747 Rebuilt, 2020. When most machines retire, they rust quietly into memory. But not Big Bud. Born in 1977 and reborn in 2020, the Big Bud 16i 747 isn't just the biggest tractor ever built. It's the one that wouldn't stay gone. Initially constructed in Havre, Montana, Big Bud was a custom order for the Rossi brothers, a 1,100 horsepower Colossus powered by a 16-cylinder Detroit diesel engine that made even the earth tremble. Its frame was hand-welded, its tires taller than a man, and its plow so broad it could reshape the horizon in a single pass. For decades, it was unmatched, almost mythical, until time caught up. By the early 2000s, the giant was parked, silent and forgotten. Its tires rotted, its paint peeled, and most assumed it would never roar again. But in 2020, something extraordinary happened. The Williams brothers of Montana, lifelong fans of the machine, decided to bring it back. They rebuilt it from the frame up, replacing the drivetrain, hydraulics, and electronics, and fitted it with a new 16V Cat engine, capable of pushing over 1,100 horsepower once more. When it started for the first time in decades, the sound wasn't just an engine. It was history waking up. Crowds gathered to see it move again across the plains, its twin exhausts belching smoke like a steamship crossing land. It didn't belong to the past anymore. It belonged to the lineage of every machine that dared to defy time. In a world chasing electric silence, Big Bud's return felt almost rebellious, a reminder of the raw mechanical age when humans and engines spoke the same language: torque, noise, and persistence. Even today, there's nothing like it. No production tractor, no prototype, no equal. Big Bud wasn't built to be efficient. It was built to be eternal. It proved that some machines don't die. They wait until someone remembers why they mattered. So what do you think? Is the rebirth of Big Bud a triumph of nostalgia, or proof that true engineering never ages? In first place, Kirovets K-744 Heavyline 2022. While most giants of the past now sit behind museum ropes, the Kirovets K-744 Heavyline is still out there, working. Built in St. Petersburg, Russia, this modern colossus isn't a prototype or a memory. It's the living descendant of every machine that came before it. The K-744 was never about luxury or software. It was about endurance. Its 12-liter YAMZ engine, pushing 1,000 horsepower, isn't wrapped in chrome or carbon fiber. It's wrapped in purpose. Designed for brutal Siberian winters, salt plains, and endless prairie, this tractor doesn't rely on sensors or algorithms. It depends on steel, torque, and willpower. Each wheel stands taller than a man, each axle forged for punishment. Inside, the cab hums with the rhythm of a diesel heart tuned for war. Operators call it the iron handshake, because when it moves, the ground doesn't resist, it yields. Unlike its Western counterparts, which are chasing autonomy and AI, The K-744 doubles down on human control. Here, the farmer is not replaced by the machine. He becomes part of it. And maybe that's what makes it so hauntingly powerful. After a century of chasing perfection, self-driving systems, digital dashboards, satellite guidance, Kirovets went the opposite way. It built something real, mechanical, raw. In a world of quiet precision, the K-744 reminds us what strength feels like. This is not the future imagined in silicon. It's the future forged in iron. The last titan of traditional power, still plowing, roaring, proving that the story of the tractor didn't end with autonomy. It just came full circle. So what do you think? Does the Kirovets K-744 represent progress or resistance? Is this the next step forward or the last stand of the giants? They began as tools, forged to till the soil, to feed a world still learning to grow. But somewhere along the way, they became something more, symbols of power, proof that humanity's reach could stretch further than the horizon itself. From the whispering precision of the Claas Xerion, to the unstoppable roar of Big Bud Reborn, to the cold endurance of the Kirovets still working in silence. Each of these giants told the same story in a different language. That power never disappears. It only changes shape. The age of steam faded. Diesel rose. Now electricity hums quietly beneath the soil. But the dream, to build something greater than ourselves, that dream never left the field. These machines weren't just built to move Earth. They were built to remind us of what we can move when we believe in the impossible. Thank you for watching Tractor World. If you believe the era of giants isn't over yet, subscribe and join us for the next story.